Have you ever met someone who changed your entire life with just one innocent question? One that went straight through your heart and made you realize how empty your world had been all along? That's exactly what happened to Daniel Carter, a man who thought he'd lost all reason to smile until a little girl in a wheelchair looked up at him with tear-filled eyes and said softly, "Sir, could you pretend to be my daddy, just for one day?" It was a quiet Sunday morning in the park, the kind of morning where the world seemed to move a little slower. The roses were in full bloom, their petals glistening from the dew, and the laughter of children echoed from the playground nearby. Daniel Carter sat on a wooden bench, hands clasped, lost in thought. He wore his favorite red polo, the one his late wife used to say made him look like sunlight in human form. But sunlight was the last thing he felt like these days. Ever since the accident 2 years ago that took his wife and left him alone with memories too heavy to carry, Daniel had become a shadow of himself. He came to this park every Sunday out of habit, not hope. It was where he and his wife had once dreamed of bringing their future children. Now, it was just a place where he could watch other families live the life he'd lost. But that day, something changed. A soft voice broke through his thoughts. "Excuse me, sir?" He looked up and saw her, a little girl, no older than 7, with golden curls tied in a messy ponytail and the saddest blue eyes he'd ever seen. She sat in a wheelchair, her tiny hands clutching the sides, as if afraid to roll closer. "Yes, sweetheart?" he asked gently. She hesitated, biting her lip. I'm sorry to bother you. It's just, everyone else has their dad here today." She glanced toward the playground, where fathers were pushing their kids on swings or helping them ride bicycles. "And today's my birthday." Daniel's heart squeezed. "Oh. Happy birthday, little one." "Thank you." Her voice trembled. "But I don't have a daddy. So, I was wondering, could you maybe pretend to be mine? Just for today?" For a moment, Daniel couldn't breathe. The question hit him like a storm, soft, innocent, yet so full of longing that it cracked something deep inside him. He looked around, expecting to see a parent nearby, but there was no one. Just this fragile child, sitting there, trying her best to smile through the ache. He knelt beside her. "Where's your mom, sweetheart?" "She's at work," she whispered. "She couldn't take the day off. She said we'll celebrate later, but she's always tired, and I just wanted someone to be here with me now." She looked down. "You don't have to buy me anything or anything like that. I just wanted to feel like other kids do. Just for a little while." Daniel swallowed hard. He'd promised himself he wouldn't get close to anyone again. But looking at her alone, brave, and trying not to cry, he couldn't walk away. He smiled softly. "Well then, birthday girl, I'd be honored to be your pretend dad for today." Her eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," he said, standing and offering his hand. "So, what do we do first?" The next few hours changed both of their lives. Daniel pushed her wheelchair through the rose gardens, pretending they were on a royal adventure. She called him daddy shyly at first, then with giggles and joy that made his heart flutter in ways it hadn't in years. They fed ducks, shared ice cream, and she told him stories about her dreams, how she wanted to walk one day, become a doctor, and help people like my mom who never stop working. At lunchtime, Daniel bought her favorite meal, pasta with extra cheese, from a nearby cafe. They sat on the grass as she told him how her mom worked double shifts at a diner just to pay for her therapy. "She's the best mom ever," the girl said proudly. "But I know she's sad sometimes. I think she misses my dad. He left before I was born." Daniel blinked back tears. He knew that kind of sadness all too well. "Your mom sounds like an amazing woman," he said softly. "She is," the girl nodded. "But she doesn't smile much anymore. You smiled a lot today. I think my mom would like you." Those words stayed with him for the rest of the day. As the sun began to set, Daniel found himself dreading the moment he'd have to say goodbye. When her mother finally arrived, a tired woman in a faded waitress uniform, her eyes widened in surprise at seeing her daughter laughing so freely. The little girl introduced Daniel with excitement. "Mommy. This is Daddy. Well, not my real daddy, but just for today." Her mother's eyes softened instantly. She thanked Daniel quietly, though her voice trembled. "You have no idea how much this means to her," she whispered. "It's been hard. Daniel hesitated. If it's okay, maybe I could see her again sometime? The woman smiled faintly, as if the idea both warmed and frightened her. Maybe. As they left, the little girl waved, shouting, "Bye, Daddy." The word echoed through Daniel's heart long after she was gone that night. He sat alone in his apartment, staring at a photo of his late wife. For the first time in years, the apartment didn't feel completely empty. A week passed, then another. Daniel couldn't stop thinking about her, the little girl with the brave heart and the mother who worked herself to exhaustion. He went back to the park the following Sunday, unsure if he'd see them again. He didn't have to wait long. The little girl spotted him first, shouting, "Daddy," as she wheeled toward him, her mother following with a smile that carried gratitude and surprise. From that day on, they became a part of each other's routines. Daniel helped with her physical therapy appointments, brought her books, even fixed the squeaky wheel on her chair. Her mother, whose name he learned was Grace, began to open up slowly, telling him about her struggles, how she'd been abandoned when pregnant, how every day was a fight to keep hope alive. Daniel listened. And for the first time since losing his wife, he felt alive again. But just when life began to look brighter, fate tested them again. Grace fell sick, too weak to work, too worried to ask for help. Daniel found himself at the hospital with the little girl clutching his hand, whispering, "Daddy, please don't let her go." He didn't. He stayed by Grace's side, paid her medical bills quietly, and refused to leave until she recovered. When she finally opened her eyes, the first thing she saw was Daniel sitting beside her, the little girl asleep in his arms. Grace wept. "Why would you do this for us?" Daniel smiled, eyes glistening. "Because once, a little girl taught me how to be a dad again." Months later, Grace recovered, and together they rebuilt a life, one filled with laughter, late-night dinners, and the kind of love that heals old wounds. The little girl eventually took her first steps, holding Daniel's hands tightly, whispering, "I told you I'd do it, Daddy." He looked at her, tears falling freely. "Yes, sweetheart. You did." And when Grace finally whispered, "You've given us more than I could ever thank you for," Daniel just shook his head. "No. You too gave me back my life." So, if you ever meet someone who asks for your kindness, don't hesitate. You never know, one small act of love could rewrite the story of your heart, because for Daniel Carter, pretending to be a daddy for just one day turned into being one forever. And if this story touched your heart, remember, sometimes love doesn't come from blood, but from the moments when two broken souls choose to become family. Like, share, and subscribe, because kindness, no matter how small, can change someone's world forever.